News.
Okay, we'll start with this. It would seem that unbeaten up-and-comer Tia May Ayton will be returning to action late next month on the 22nd opposite the ring Hellewell for what is a Commonwealth featherweight title. Featherweight, that's 126 pounds. That is where Amanda Serrano still reigns as a unified champion, where Tiara Brown has the WBC and Nina Menka has the IBF. That is where this contest is taking place, sporting an unblemished record of 6 wins with no losses and no draws, 5 recorded knockouts. Tia will attempt to go 7-0. Dubbed the heir apparent to the throne that Katie Taylor is set to leave behind after September, after she retires. Tia has a lot of time. She debuted as a professional much earlier than Katie Taylor did. Through a stellar amateur career, Katie Taylor debuted as a professional at age 30, whereas Tia May Ayton currently is only 19 years old, with her entire career ahead of her. Her opponent, Hellewell, sports a professional record of 7 wins with 1 loss and 1 draw, 1 recorded knockout, having never been knocked out in 9 professional bouts, last in action. In March of this year, opposite the ring, Claudia Ferenzi, who she fought to a technical draw in a contest that only lasted about 3 rounds. Before that, she dropped a decision to Tycee Gallagher in September of the previous year. Sort of lets you know what level at which she competes. Dropping a decision to Tycee Gallagher and drawing with a girl that has 129 losses. You heard that right. Claudia Ferenzi, who she fought in March of this year, has a recorded 129 losses, and Ellie couldn't really make it past her. Even more interesting is that Ellie has a fight coming up this weekend against journeywoman Alicia Lewis, a 6-rounder, to then go into the fight with Tia May Ayton late next month. Tia was last in action in May of this year opposite the ring Stevie Levy, who she stopped in the 4th round of a contest scheduled for 8. It's a testament to her power because Stevie Levy, while having a few career blemishes, is experienced, she's been around a long time, and if my memory serves me, before that fight with Tia, she had never been stopped. She had never been knocked out. Tia's a puncher, and that's what she's known for. She's already fought 2 times this year, once in February, then again in May. This will be her 3rd fight of this year, leaving plenty of room for at least 1 more in the fall and winter months. Having debuted as a professional in June of the previous year, she fought 4 times last year, and it looks like she will fight 4 times this one.
Her weight's a bit all over the place.
For the most part, Tia May Ayton has been campaigning as a super bantamweight, where not that long ago, Ellie Scottney held all 4 alphabet titles. Currently, the reset button has been hit in that division, and a new cycle of champions is set to sprout in her absence, and I would have thought that Tia May Ayton would be fighting there at 122. This fight that she's about to have is at 126. So being at 126, does that division yield the same amount of opportunities for Tia that 122 would? Theoretically, it could. Amanda Serrano currently holds 2 of the 4 alphabet titles at this weight, but she is set to retire after this year. So in theory, so long as Tia May Ayton stays on the right track, she could end up fighting for one or some of those alphabet titles. I could see her becoming a world champion at some point next year, not this one. I can only deduce based on this move to 126 that her body is growing. She was fighting at super bantamweight not that long ago. Now she's set to fight at feather, and it's gotta be because, well, at 19 years old, her body is still growing. She's still filling out. The girls are a little bit bigger at feather, so we'll see what effect that has on Tia May Ayton's punching power. As a super bantamweight, there's no doubt about it, she can crack. But at feather, where the girls are a little bit bigger, perhaps a bit more durable, she may have to fall back on her boxing skill, her boxing acumen, the opportunity to work on that to where not every girl's gonna fall down as soon as you hit them hard. We'll see what happens. I anticipate she will beat Ellie Hellewell. If Tycee Gallagher can beat Ellie, then Tia can beat Ellie. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, Eddie Hearn claims that Zuffa was bullied into co-promotion. Bullied, you say? That's not how it looks from the outside looking in. It's not how I would describe it. Matchroom's chairman says, co-promotions in the World Boxing Council forced Zuffa Boxing to abandon the promises it made when entering the sport. Eddie Hearn believes Zuffa Boxing has already discovered it cannot reshape boxing on its own. He says Ryan Garcia's September 12th fight with Conor Benn proves the promotion has been forced to embrace co-promotions and world title sanctioning bodies.
It's one way to look at it, but I think he's only half right.
I mean, he was bullied into it, really. They had no choice, Hearn said to Fight Hype when asked about Zuffa Boxing working with Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy. Do you think Dana White would have voluntarily said, let's do a co-promotion with Oscar De La Hoya? I mean, he can't stand him.
Yeah, but the same is true in reverse, Eddie. That same logic applies to Oscar just as much as it applies to Dana.
Hearn said that Zuffa Boxing entered promising to avoid co-promotions and world title sanctioning bodies, but says the reality quickly forced a different approach. But this is how boxing works. Sometimes you don't get like an ideal world, probably. We wouldn't do co-promotions with anybody because you'd rather just do it on your own. But boxing doesn't work like that. It's never worked like that, Hearn said. He also pointed to the WBC's involvement in Garcia's September 12th welterweight title defense against Benn, saying Zuffa underestimated the importance of established organizations. They said they're not doing any championship fights. In fact, Nick Khan stood on the stand to try and abolish the Muhammad Ali Act and belittle Mauricio Sulaiman, Hearn said. Well, guess what? On September 12th, Mauricio Sulaiman will be in the ring on their show, and they all have to pay homage to the WBC Championship because you can't just get rid of these things. Hearn closed by arguing that the Garcia versus Benn promotion illustrates the fundamental difference between boxing and MMA. No one's gonna lay down, Hearn said. Oscar De La Hoya wasn't going to let Ryan Garcia just poodle on over to Zuffa. No chance. They're control freaks, and you can't control boxing.
Well, he's only half right, but I still wouldn't describe the situation as Zuffa being bullied. Bullied by who?
They's the ones that took something from you, Eddie. Not the other way around. They took something from you. When the bully takes the kid's lunch money, they took yours in the form of Conor Benn. Now, we can debate whether or not he's worth what they're paying him, because I don't think he is, but the point still stands. You didn't take anything from them. They've taken something from you and the other promoters.
Taking something from them, too.
There is enough video evidence out there of Oscar De La Hoya poo-pooing on the Ryan Garcia versus Conor Benn fight. Do you think he's making that fight willingly? Is it even up to him to make it? Or did the higher-ups at the zone make that decision for him?
Based on what Zuffa's willing to pay.
Does it really boil down to Oscar cooperating? Or was he forced to cooperate against his own best wishes? Would he be working with Dana White, of all people, if he had a choice? He has something that Dana White wants. Brian Garcia. He wants to use him. More than Oscar wants to use Conor Benn, Dana White wants to use Ryan. And he's going to. Whether Oscar wants to let him use Brian or not. So, who's the bully here? It's not Oscar. It's not you. I don't even think it's the World Boxing Council.
What are they bullying Zuffa into doing?
What exactly? While it is true that Zuffa seems to have walked back their initial stance on the sanctioning bodies, the alphabet organizations, they're restructuring, retuning, but it's still very, very early to where I would not frame this as the World Boxing Council bullying them, so much as them finding use for the World Boxing Council. I think they figured out early, that the Zuffa belt, nobody gives a damn about it. For all of the criticisms the alphabet organizations face, they still have the champions that the fight fans are interested in. And it's the fight fans you want to get at.
They're adapting.
So if appealing to those boxing fans that you're trying to get at means working with the alphabet organizations, I would say it's the fans that bullied Zuffa more than the alphabets.
Mauricio didn't bully Zuffa into doing anything. The only reason they're entertaining that fucking lard ass is to appease the boxing fans. That's who they're trying to get at. That's who they're after. So they're willing to do what they have to do. And I think that's very smart on their part. Adapt or die.
The promotion is still young. They're still new to this space and still learning, but they're using what they've learned very quickly, and I think that's very smart on their part.
I don't know that they'll ever be able to get the Zuffa boxing belt off the ground, give it meaning, give it substance, because like I've been saying, the IBO title that is not recognized by the Major Four, that title has been around since 1988, and people still look at it as a lesser belt to the Major Four. So how many years and how many decades would it take for people to accept the Zuffa belt, the Zuffa title?
My pussy hurt.
Once again, they may have to retune and restructure things from their initial vision to where they are now to find a place for the Zuffa belt within the boxing space, because it's clearly not a substitute for the Major Four titles.
I still wouldn't call that bullying, though. I wouldn't call that the sanctioning bodies bullying Zuffa. I would call that the fight fans and boxing culture itself forcing Zuffa to adapt. Not bullying.
Wouldn't frame it that way, because here's reality. Zuffa comes into the space with all of their resources and a major broadcaster behind them, and they are effectively carving a lane out for themselves, whether the people in boxing like it or not. Ryan isn't about to fight a Zuffa boxing fighter because Oscar wants him to.
Oscar doesn't seem to have a choice or anything better for Ryan to do.
What seems to be Zuffa boxing's involvement in the upcoming Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury fight. Why are they even involved at all, in any capacity? How have they come into the frame? I don't think it's because Eddie Hearn wanted them to, or Frank Warren, but here they are. So I would not say that it's Frank and Eddie bullying them.
These guys are in the picture against Frank and Eddie's best wishes.
What is the acquisition of Shakur Stevenson, the potential acquisition of Devin Haney, and other star fighters they are targeting?
They are making everybody's job harder here at the beginning, at the start, making waves and throwing all this money around.
Which in effect drives the cost of everything up, because if you want to keep what you have and hang on to it, you've got to pay to play, because Zuffa's ready to.
They got a lot of money.
I've my reservations as to whether or not Zuffa boxing can achieve longevity doing what they're doing now, because it doesn't make for a long-term strategy. But to say that anybody's bullying them?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would not frame it that way. That's not how it looks outwardly.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, Teofimo Lopez Sr. claims his son gave Shakur Stevenson a gift. Lopez, former lightweight champion, was confident in his abilities during the build-up towards the junior welterweight fight January 31st at MSG in New York. Once the opening bell rang, however, it was a completely different story.
Confident? What do you mean confident? Didn't you guys report that Teofimo Lopez had a moment right before the fight where he broke down into tears?
It was right before the fight. That doesn't strike me as something that someone who is confident would do. Stevenson, 29, easily defeated Lopez on points. Judges Max DeLuca, Eric Marlinski, and Steve Weisfeld gave the 2016 Olympic silver medalist 11 out of 12 rounds apiece. Lopez lost his ring and WBO 140-pound titles. Lopez Sr. was initially dumbfounded by how his son performed. Looking back as they prepare for a welterweight title tilt against Rolly Romero, that DAZN will stream in late August. He believes his son's performance had nothing to do with the game plan or his physical skills. It was more mental, he told Fight Hub TV. It had a lot to do with how they don't give my son credit for all the things that he's done.
Oh, bullshit. Fucking bullshit. Why do so many people in boxing have to be such sore fucking losers?
Not putting him on the pound-for-pound list, you can say he was a two-time undisputed champion.
No, you can't. Mo! Just because he beat Josh Taylor didn't make him undisputed champion at the time. There were literally other belt holders that he didn't fight.
That hurts a boxer's mentality. My son takes that personal. He gave the fight to Shakur. That wasn't my son. That was a gift.
You're full of shit. You know, I don't doubt that Teofimo Lopez has to deal with some demons, wrestle with them, but so does Shakur. The boxing community isn't exactly sweet on him either. They call him safety first. They call him boring. He receives flack from both the Devin Haney fans and the Gervonta Davis fans alike, that your son isn't the only one with mental battles that he has to fight. Put simply, what you're suggesting is no excuse.
Lopez defied the odds by beating Vasyl Lomachenko to become the lightweight division's unified champion in October of 2020. Lopez later defeated Tosh Jailer, once again as an underdog, to become a junior welterweight champion in June of 2023.
A champion, yes, but not undisputed.
Sharper Lopez won the Ring Magazine and WBO 140-pound titles from Taylor, who was the undisputed junior welterweight champion just months before the loss. The Scottish southpaw opted to drop 3 of his belts rather than face a long list of mandatories. He was committed to facing Jack Catterall in an immediate rematch until that fell through due to Taylor's foot injury. Taylor instead opposed Lopez because the WBO named him mandatory. Lopez Sr. feels as though his son never got his just due following his legacy-defining victories over Lomachenko and Taylor.
Spare me. Jack Catterall never got his just due for beating Josh Taylor long before Lopez laid a glove on him, because everybody knows what they saw. Everybody knows what happened, and they know.
If you're going to talk about 140, talk about Undisputed, and talk about who should have got it after beating Josh Taylor, it should have been Jack Catterall, because at the time that Jack fought him, Josh had all the belts. Whereas a year later when he fights Teofimo, by then, he had already dropped 3 of them. It was not an undisputed title fight. How could it be if he doesn't have all the belts?
Son is about to get a chance to become a champion in a 3rd weight class when he meets Rolly Romero for the WBA welterweight crown next month at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. Lopez Sr. expects to see a much more impressive version of him against Romero. "My son is a slick boxer," he said. "He didn't slip a jab. My son doesn't get hit with the same punch twice or 3 times. He got hit with that jab all night. This is not a race. This is a marathon. Let's see what happens 5 years from now. Let's see who's on top."
Well, I mean, Senior, Shakur's already a 4-weight world champion, whereas your son is just now attempting to become a 3-weight world champion. Shakur is already ahead of him.
If he gets the Devin Haney fight, that's another big scalp alongside the scalp of your son.
He's just in denial. Case of sour grapes and being a sore fucking loser. That's all it is. While I do expect to see a better version of Teofimo opposite the ring Rolly Romero, that has more to do with Rolly and less to do with Teo. It's because Rolly is not the level of boxer that Shakur Stevenson is.
Teo's gonna win.
The chip that both Teo and his father now have on their shoulder is all of the experience they're deriving from sparring sessions with Rolly years ago. They know their man. They know Rolly like David Benavidez knew Zerto.
It's that kind of dynamic.
But beating Rolly doesn't undo being beat by Shakur Stevenson, doesn't undo being beat by George Kambosos before that, and struggling with the likes of Sandor Martin, Jermaine Ortiz, Steve Claggett. It is within their power to get back in the winner's bracket and rebound from the loss to Shakur. But talking him down like this, as if the only reason that Shakur won because Teo wasn't mentally there because he forgot to use fabric softener.
Forgot to take the chicken out of the freezer.
You'd be better off saying nothing else, nothing at all about the Shakur Stevenson fight than the dumb shit you're saying now. Just put it in the past and leave it there. Focus on the future and stop sounding stupid.